morning. Will the Committee on Infrastructure, Transportation, and Technology please come to order? I would like to welcome Committee Vice Chair Okimoto and Committee Members Wire. Committee Member Wire. Committee Member Dos Santos Tam and maybe Tupola are excused from today's meeting. Pursuant to Section 92-3.7, the Hawaii Revised Statutes, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in two ways, remotely and in person in the council chamber. Remote and in-person oral testimony will be allowed when the agenda item is taken up. As both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and Section 1-13 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, members of the public may testify in either language. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii, additional time as may be necessary will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or phone will be called upon first. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. I will then give persons who have not registered an opportunity to offer testimony. Please then utilize the raise hand featured on Zoom to be called upon. For those who are joining us online, I will ask them to please press *9 to indicate their desire to speak. I will then identify them by the last 3 digits of their phone number. When their phone number is called, I will ask them to press *6 to unmute themselves when prompted. Some friendly reminders and tips: please video conference from a quiet location if possible. And if you are watching the proceedings on Olelo, please mute your television at the time you are called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. Once all the remote testifiers have testified, I will proceed to in-person testimony in the council chamber. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to speak following the oral testimonies of the registered speakers. HR Section 92-3.7 requires all votes at remote meetings to be conducted by a roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, I'll first call for objections, and if there are any, I'll call for a roll call vote. For those council members participating from outside of the council chamber in accordance with HRS Section 92-3.7, the meeting will automatically recess if we lose audiovisual contact with you, and we will not be able to reconvene until we reestablish contact. Therefore, I'll ask if any member can announce beforehand if they will be voluntarily signing out of the meeting. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off or silence all cell phones. We have 4 presentations members. I would also like to welcome Committee Member Tupola to the meeting. We're now moving to agenda item number 1. Well, first off, I do want to thank our presenters today for joining us. Now in my 13th year at the council, I've had the opportunity to see the different progress through these different programs, and I'm excited to hear the updates and progress and how it better serves our communities. So with that, we're moving to agenda item number 1, we have the update on the Department of Transportation Services implementation of Ordinance 24-32, including the implementation and effect of lower speed limits, traffic calming measures, and recommendations for safe speeds within 1,000 feet of a school. This ordinance was passed last year by the council unanimously, and this was championed and introduced by council members Dos Santos Tam and Kia Aina. And I want to thank from the Department of Transportation Services, we have Renee SPL, the Complete Streets Administrator, who will be providing a brief presentation. For your information, the presentation is available online as Departmental Communication 478-2025. Welcome, Ms. SPL, or Administrator SPL. Thank you for being here. Are we all ready with the presentation? Perfect, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Cordero, members of the committee. It's my pleasure to be here this morning. My name is Renee Espio. I'm the Complete Streets Administrator for City and County of Honolulu, and happy to provide this update this morning. So there were several main features in Bill 44, just to sort of summarize them. One was it added explicit authorization and direction to the department to implement traffic calming in school areas, including some new notification requirements. Given the proliferation of traffic calming near schools in recent years, I think there's an increased desire to alert the community of those upcoming installations, make sure we're I don't know, preventing unnecessary heartburn down the line. And then the main portion of the bill was to create a new 20-mile-per-hour speed classification that had not previously existed. And under that 20-mile-per-hour classification, we made that now the new default speed limit, which basically means a street where the speed limit has not otherwise been defined. That's sort of what the default speed limit is. It used to be 25. And then the main thing we're here to talk about today is reducing the speed limit in school zones to 20 miles per hour. Statutorily, it had previously been 25 for many, many, many years. And so we're happy to bring that down and get a little bit more in alignment with some of our other counties in the state. There also was a new classification for 40 miles per hour. We don't really have streets that are this high, so I'm not going to talk about this much today. But we did do a little bit of legal work on the schedule side. We did establish a new schedule for the 20 mile per hour. That's Schedule 40. And then the 40 mile per hour can just get, if we ever have a street that needs that classification, it can get wrapped into Schedule 38, which is sort of the et cetera kind of different various speed limit catch-all schedule. Just a quick reminder on the sort of previous policy work that was done prior to the ordinance. As the council member said, we're really making progress towards some of our Complete Streets goals sort of year after year. So I think it's always good to remind ourselves what we had previously planned for, said we should do. In 2016, we issued our Complete Streets Design Manual for kind of getting started with our Complete Streets program. And in there, we had identified 20 miles per hour as sort of our target for residential streets. And again, that was reiterated in the Oahu Pedestrian Plan, which was adopted in 2022. That called for making 20 miles per hour the default and the school zone. So we've done that, so we can kind of check that off our box. And we are still, I'll provide an update, still working on reducing the speed limits on our major urban streets as well. The Vision Zero Action Plan, of course, being our most recent plan that we've come to you guys for adoption, also address speeds. In particular, it wants a 20 mile per hour speed limit on all local streets. So that's something we have not done yet, but we certainly laid the groundwork in Bill 44 by creating the classification in general. So I'm sure we'll have continuing conversations about that. And then just a reminder of the public support for these kinds of changes. We saw about 94% support from those who did our survey through the Vision Zero plan for these lower speed limits. And then HRS updates have also been going in tandem, sort of on a similar track, trying to reduce speeds near schools. There's 2 updates from the last 2 years, basically since the bill was adopted. The one from last year provides that an engineering study is not required to lower the speed limit if we're within a mile of a school. And then this past session, we also had additional sort of loosening of the engineering study requirement for lowering speed limits if it's within 10 miles of the existing speed limit. So all compatible, but all sort of moving in parallel. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because you guys kind of have heard this before, but just a reminder on why speed matters. Obviously, you can see a lot more when you're driving slow. You can brake faster. And of course, the chance of someone surviving a crash is much higher if cars are going slower when there's a crash. This is where we are on our speed limits across city streets. We've shared this before. We have the vast, vast majority of our streets are signed at 25 right now. So the big effort really with Bill 44 is trying to get those 25s down to 20s in the school zones. Okay, so as we've shared previously, we have over 7,000 25 mile per hour signs. We are estimating that we've got probably about 600 or 800 or so school zone speed signs that we need to update. That's a lot. We didn't get any new staff with this program, so we're trying to find ways to be efficient to implement this, because this is a very large lift on top of sort of our normal project work. We have applied for grant funding through the State Safe Routes to School Committee. We've applied for $1 million to do sign replacement. We just provided some additional information to the state on that, and we hear we should be hearing back from them within the next few months or so on whether we got that. Obviously, if we got a bigger pot of money, we could do this more at once. If not, we're going to just continue to phase this as the money becomes available. We are grateful that we got a council ad for $500,000 in next fiscal year, and we are planning to ask the administration for approval to spend that. We also are working on lowering speed limits on other corridors, just as kind of part of our Vision Zero and Complete Streets planning efforts. But since Bill 44 passed, we are working on incorporating those 20 mile per hour in the school zones along these corridors. So these are just a few examples. The top shows DFM work orders that are going in for sign replacement all along some of our high injury corridors, such as Alawai Boulevard, School Street. And as part of those, right, we're able to do the 20 mile per hour signs near the schools. And then we also have some DDC rehabilitation of streets projects that are doing some speed limit lowering. And I think the Kilani and California Aves is the first one where we're going to have them lower the speed limit through the rehab project as a result of Bill 44. I will also add, I'm going to be adding the 20 mile per hour to our Complete Streets checklist. So every time we have a rehab project, if the signs have not already been updated, it's something they can do while they're already out there. Our Transportation Engineering Division has been working very closely with the state DOT over the last several years on speed humps and raised crosswalks, particularly near schools. We're very grateful to the state for giving us access to their contractors and paying for the installations in most instances. We just wanted to share this, I think, pretty impressive list of the school areas that have already received speed humps or raised crosswalks, and then those that are planned and upcoming. A lot of these should look familiar to you. We've worked with council on a lot of these requests. And then finally, on the project side, on the physical side, improving our school zones, trying to bring down speeds, including the signs, but more meaningfully changing the designs of the streets themselves to be more accommodating to people walking and biking and get cars to drive slower. This committee was actually a good opportunity, I think, for us to make a summary list of all the projects that we have that are really school safety focused. So you can see this was just a start. I think we have more that I probably can't even remember. We probably submitted to DFM in a work order or something. But even just, the first bullet itself is 6 separate projects, like large federal aid projects. So I think instead of, going to the details of this, I just wanted to communicate we have a lot going on to reduce speeds, to make our school zone safer, and we hope we're making a meaningful difference, but we are truly dedicated, basically, to really working in school zones. That's sort of always a kind of first check for us. It's like, okay, is it near a school? Is it going to make our keiki safer? So this is a value we hold very closely, and we appreciate that you guys do, too. And then, okay, finally, just on the education piece, we know we can't get everywhere the people want us to as quick as they want us to, and many places we probably will honestly never have the resources to, put in signage or traffic calming like in residential neighborhoods. So we did just start this distribution program. We have Vision Zero bumper stickers and yard signs that we're distributing to people. They fill out a short pledge online and they can come and pick these up. So even if we haven't gotten to their neighborhood with a 20 mile per hour sign, they can at least put one in their own yard to remind their neighbors to drive slowly. Okay, that's all I have. Mahalo.
Thank you, Administrator Espiau. Before I get to the members, I do have a few questions. Since we're talking about the campaign materials, I do want to note that this presentation mainly came from my community associations throughout my district, mainly Moanalua Valley, Moanalua Gardens, as well as AEA. And I do want to note that they did want to highlight the outreach to the community, which, of course, I understand the I guess, the staffing levels as well as the amount of outreach that actually can be done, especially when it comes to evening times for the city departments. And although I know I'm willing to host meetings for them, I know that they did ask, like, before these things are implemented, to be able to have an adequate amount of outreach and not just marketing, but education, so that people know that it's coming. So do you have a timeline before reducing the speeds to 20 miles per hour, a goal timeline that you will start outreaching to the general neighborhood?
Are you talking about the speed limit reduction
Yes.
or the traffic calming projects?
So
Speed limit reduction is just the sign, right?
Right, yes.
Okay, so that's what you're talking about?
Yes.
We honestly were not, we hadn't thought too much about outreach yet for the signs because it's statutory. So there's really, like, you know, the opportunity for public feedback seems to have sort of been when Bill 44 was being deliberated. For us, the law of the land is that the speed limit shall be 20 miles per hour near schools. So we're happy to do, we were talking about maybe doing kind of a mass communication, like through neighborhood commission, through the council member, like sort of a generic, we're doing this island-wide. I think it may be a little too soon to put much more details on that until we can figure out how we're doing this.
Okay.
Like I said, I have 2 pots of money for this, neither one of which is a sure bet quite yet, and they're different amounts, right? So I can do more with the bigger amount than less. So I hear you, let's figure out a good way to do that.
Understood. Thank you. I just definitely looking at the timeline, like giving people time to just know what's happening.
Yep.
And next, would you be able to clarify if these changes, whether it be traffic calming or reduction in this implementing the signs, will only be done during DDC rehab of streets, or for both traffic calming and?
So we're looking for all opportunities to change signs, just like complete streets. We're very opportunistic, right? If we have a rehab project, we'll jump on that, but those tend to be the longest projects, right? They're very intensive, so we might be able to find another way to do it quicker in that neighborhood. So we're gonna be looking at DFM work orders in-house, DDC projects that are already kind of underway, not new ones, because those will take a while. And then as we can get pots of money, we will contract out the sign changes sort of in batches. But we plan to do a fair amount of private installation, so we're not overburdening DFM too much with that or waiting too long for DDC.
Thank you for bringing that up. That was actually going to be my next question, relating to how does DTS and DFM determine how to divvy up those signs work? Because I know that maybe DTS will have a small team, and then DFM still continues to have a small team for their sign crew.
So the transportation engineering group within DTS typically issues work orders to DFM. Most of the work we're talking about with the signs is just sign changes, right? There's no striping changes, so it's relatively straightforward work for DFM, I understand. And they're slightly different people and different crews. The striping crew is pretty constrained, and that's why we have a hard time kind of getting to all the different places across the island. But they seem to think they have some manpower to be able to do the sign changes in-house. That said, we don't want to burden them with the entire island. So we're sort of looking at some priority areas. We'll reach out to the council members, you know, to talk about those. And then we'll probably fill in with private improvements otherwise. DDC can do sign changes with their projects, but they take a while. DFM also has paving projects, but those tend to do more painting, not sign changes. So anyway, so we always got to look at the corridor, look at the project, what's in the scope, will it fit? If not, we'll figure out a different way.
Thank you. I just know that for DFM, they do signage for a majority of things, and that's why a lot of the districts are experiencing, districts and communities themselves have been experiencing like 4 or 5+ years waiting on signs. And I know that's an ongoing discussion for forever, but that just has to be put out there.
Yeah, I do know some of the staff that was coning Kapiolani and Ward Avenue are now doing sign replacement work, so I do believe they're getting caught up on the sign work orders. So if you have any,
thank you.
If you have any particular, let us
I'm going to
know.
follow up.
Okay.
Thank you, Administrator Espiau. Members, do we have any questions on Councilmember Tupola?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for having this hearing. I just had a quick question about how does it work when the school is fronting Farrington Highway? So we have 2 elementary schools on Farrington Highway. If I can think harder, I think it's only that. What would your suggestion be?
So
we just don't change.
for the speed limit,
Yeah,
not for
so
traffic calming.
it just doesn't apply then.
So that was language that got added kind of at the end of Bill 44, yeah, clarifying that it did not apply to state routes. I wasn't sure if that was necessary or a good idea. Honestly, I'm not sure if that was, we didn't have a conversation with DOT about this, but I do notice on the other islands, they follow the county's school zone speed limits on state highways.
Oh, meaning they do slow it down.
Yeah, so on Maui, it's 20 on the state highway, even though it's a state facility. So if that's something we wanted to follow up on, whether, this is appropriate, or maybe the state would even just lower it without being required to by ordinance.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them because the 2 elementary schools I'm referring to in Honolulu are actually across the street from each other. So it would be just one small
spot.
Zone that would have to come down. Okay.
I don't think there's anything that says they cannot, right?
Okay.
It just says they don't have to, right, is what Bill 44 says.
All right, I'll talk to the transportation chair at the House and see what we can do.
Cool.
What about schools that are on DHHL land?
Same, because it's state, right? So I think it's the same.
So we can't apply it if it's on DHHL land?
It just says the state does not have, right? I forget the exact language in Bill 44, but it says does not apply.
Okay.
Anyway,
but we could just reach out and ask them to do it.
It's also state-owned, so it would be probably a similar. Yeah, reach out and ask. I mean, that it doesn't hurt to just ask. And if they need help with the sign replacement or whatever, maybe that's something that we can
Yeah,
support.
I don't think they'd be opposed to it, so I'm just going to float it by them because then we would have congruency across my community.
Right.
We have quite a bit of homestead areas in
the
Kapolei.
public, they can't differentiate between a DHHL road and a city road and stuff, right? So that makes sense.
Okay, I'll work on that. And then what about for any donations? You're saying that possibly because of the cost, it would be a little bit prohibitive. In some of these areas, we have homestead associations, we have, other groups, bicycling groups, after-school groups. Is there any type of way that they can help so that we can do it faster or maybe add to the pot that you have? What is your thoughts?
Maybe. Reach out to us. Let us know. Let us know.
All right. And then the last question I had was...
We love volunteers.
I thought so. Okay. The last thing I had was about school zone traffic calming improvements. You have a large bullet point list here. Are these ones that, I think to Chair's point, that have timelines on it?
They all have separate timelines. I mean, it's not our full program. And, my program is not just me, right? My program, I only have a few projects. We have, our traffic engineering projects, DDC projects. There's a lot on there, sort of under our big Complete Streets Ohana.
Okay.
And they all have separate timelines, different funding sources. It literally is just a long list. So if there are any particular you want more information on, we're happy to provide that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Members. Any other questions? Okay, I do have a few then. I have a question. Well, first off, I do have clarification. Yes, of course, it doesn't include state roads. Of course, they may erect it if they see fit. But I do have a question if there's a process to include the state to include it into the driver's education materials and driving test, implement tests.
There are no plans at the time. It is a good idea. It's one of many good ideas I've heard about how to update driver education materials in general, to be honest. We have protected bike lanes, roundabouts, right? Lots of things that were not around when someone wrote that. I believe that's a state function.
Yeah. Yes.
You guys work with them? Okay, yeah, we can reach out. That's a great idea.
Okay, thank you. Lastly, we do have the House Transportation Chair who has been watching and was wondering, because, we were talking about community outreach and information, but especially just the know-how. I was just wondering, if these campaign materials are able to be given, not either in bulk or at least for legislators to give out to communities or neighbors?
We are asking people to take a pledge before
okay.
they get the materials. So we would be happy to work with any elected, say they had an event or something and wanted us to bring
Yeah.
materials, we're happy to work with them. And maybe we can just do like some paper pledges or something. We're just trying to remind people about their self-responsibility, before they get the free thing.
Oh, understood.
So yes, reach out to us. We're happy to, bundle up a bunch of them for an event or something like that.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I guess Representative Keela, then you'll have to contact Administrator SPL
Yes,
for that,
please.
so that people can take the pledge. Okay, members, any other questions relating to this? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Administrator SPL. We will now move on to testimony. We don't have any registered remote testimony. We do have registered remote testimony. We have Angela Young.
Aloha, Transportation Committee. Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES. So when the ordinances go through the debate process, I'm like, what is being said right now? So it's so nice to have a presentation from the team to help us understand things and really process what is being said. And I like that it really customizes to the students' needs. Maybe also, just a concerned community member, if there are those with learning disabilities, maybe extra signs or, someone from the disability office to really guide them. Or maybe there are students, that really need customized needs, like maybe, I don't know, those who have obesity have a hard time crossing the streets, or I don't know, just anything. I think we should just do more to help the students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. Is there anyone else online who wishes to testify? Seeing none, we are now closing remote testimony. We don't have any registered in-person testifiers, and I don't see anyone else in person to testify, but is there anyone in person who wishes to testify? Seeing none, we are now back in discussion, Anything? Seeing none? All right, mahalo, Administrator SPL, thank you. Sorry. We will now move forward to agenda item number 2, overview of the Honolulu Safe Routes to School program and its implementation in the city and county of Honolulu. Of course, I want to give a shout out because when I used to work at the state legislature, that's when Safe Routes to School project in my predecessor's district started up. And then when we worked at the council, that was like one of the very, very the long-standing projects that we were working on throughout his tenure as well. So I am grateful for the Honolulu Safe Routes to School. I've seen the great impact and I've seen the amazing community engagement that it has fostered through that process. I do note that over the past 5-6 years that support, not want to say support, but financial support for this program, which originally came from the federal programs, then down to the state, and then distributed to the counties, have been iffy, wishy-washy, or not even expended maybe, or allocated, I should say. So I did want to highlight this because not only has this been an incredibly useful and safe tool that we've seen help communities here on Oahu, but especially literally in my backyard. So I'm grateful for Kelly Akasaki, who's the Transportation Engineering Division Chief. Sorry, that's a very long title, Kelly. Okay. Transportation Engineering Division Chief with the Department of Transportation Services, and Yamato Sasaki, who, seriously, amazing, thank you, Safe Routes to School Coordinator, who has been even walking through random parts of IAEA with us, who will be providing a brief presentation. For your information, the presentation is available online as Departmental Communication 479-2025. With that, I'll hand the floor over to Chief Akasaki.
Hello, thank you. Good morning, Council Chair and community members, committee members, I'm sorry. Again, Kelly Akasaki, Department of Transportation Service, Transportation Engineering Division Chief. As part of our division, we have 4 different branches. 2 of them are operations, so they work on daily operations, complaints that come in from the community. The third is our parking division, who maintain and update the 16 parking lots that are under the city. And then our last branch that we have is traffic and alternate mode safety division. So in this branch, we do CIP projects. We also have our city bike coordinator position. We also have a public education specialist who goes out and educates Kupuna and Keiki on pedestrian safety. So right now, our group is going out to the summer funds. So they do about 3 or 4 summer funds during the summer every week, and they talk about walking safely, and we do little presentations for them. We also sponsor the Hawaii Bicycling League Bike Ed program, which does 4th graders for all the Keiki Island-wide, as well as an adult bike ed program. Right now, they're focusing on e-bikes. So as part of this branch, we also have our Safe Routes to School program. So I'm gonna ask Ms. Yamato Sasaki to come up to explain the program and some of the updates that Councilmember Cordero brought up, especially regarding the funding.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Yamato Sasaki. I am the Safe Routes to School coordinator for the City and County of Honolulu. So I'll go through this presentation I have. Let's see. So just to give you a brief overview of the organization, this program sits within DTS under the Traffic Engineering Division and the Traffic and Safety Mode Safety branch. And we work, I work closely with the Traffic Control and Calming branch to implement infrastructure changes. And I also work closely with Renee Espiau in the Honolulu Complete Streets and DFM to implement the design changes. We also have close partners for non-infrastructure changes with other organizations, both state and in the civic sector. To give an overview of Oahu, the island is separated into 9 complex areas by the DOE. There are roughly 187 schools. This program is for all schools, whether it's charter, private, or public. And there's roughly 225,000 students in the DOE. This is a map of all the DOE schools, elementary, middle, and high school. So the program is for all K through 12 students. The main purpose of this program is to provide resources, knowledge, and technical assistance. And I also identify infrastructure needs and improvements around the school area. The school zone that is included in Safe Routes to Schools anywhere from 1 mile to 1.5 miles from the school area. That's considered the walk zone. So I look at all of those areas, including the 1,000 feet in front of the school, which is the school zone. So I do not actually implement any initiatives directly at the school. There has to be some kind of champion, whether it's a principal, teacher, school staff, a parent, or a community member who wants to do some kind of initiative at the school, and then I will be there to assist them and provide resources. Some of the emphasis areas is we promote inclusive walking and rolling. This is for all students, whether they have any kind of disability or special needs. I focus on increasing driver safety culture. One of the big things is to lower their driving speed, but other things as well. And infrastructure-wise, our main focus is to enhance crosswalks and walkways. And then a big part is to ensure that walking is really fun for the kids and their families. I want to go spend some time on this. This is really small print here. I'm sorry about that. This is just the overview of the timeline of the Safe Routes to School Special Fund. So this program was born out of a lot of advocacy work in 2012 through an act, and the funding that supports this program is mainly the Safe Routes to School Special Fund. You can find it in 291C-4 in the state law. So in 2012, the law was enacted to create this special fund. It is funded through fines, speeding fines in the school zone, and then in 2014, HDOT adopted administrative rules regarding the funding. 2015, we started receiving the funds. And then in 2018, this program was created, and I was hired as the coordinator. In 2012, the authority for the funding distribution was switched to the legislature from HDOT, and that's when we stopped receiving funds. We were receiving funds annually up to this point. In 2023, the funds were, the authority to distribute the funds was returned to HDOT, and a Safe Routes to School Advisory Committee was required, and $20 million was deposited into the fund. And then in 2025, just recently, there have been a few laws that have been enacted to add funding to this fund through fines, various fines. There's two that have been approved by the governor, and then one that's still pending. So because this program is mainly reliant on this funding source, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that. We received funding for 7 years, and then for the last 5 years, we haven't received any funding. We received about $2.5 million over the course from 2014 to 2025. So in the last 5 years, we relied on other funding sources through federal funds. And then the Department of Health has also given us a grant, and this is mainly to just keep this program alive. The way that we have used this funding is mostly for infrastructure, but we have used about 11% for non-infrastructure. So some of the infrastructure projects we've done, the main one is the Keiki Corridor for Fern Elementary. It was roughly 1.9 million, and it created this kind of this space for people to walk that cars were not parked in. It was a issue for people walking in the neighborhood. And then some other things that we've done is speed radars, and then quick build projects. This is an example. We had a mini grant program that we offered. So here we contributed 3,500 to Blue Zones, who implemented this project. And then for infrastructure projects, I mostly promote walking days, so walk to school day, and then community outreach. And then we provide some giveaways, activity books, and reflective vests. I brought here with me today examples of what we give out. So for anyone, like any parent who is interested in doing an initiative at the school, I can give them a care package. So if they're gonna do a walk to school day or a walking school bus at the school, they can receive a care package like this. Included in here is a t-shirt, hat, umbrella, and then I also offer vests, or something like this, to kids. As you can see in that picture, it's a reflective vest, something like this, to any kids who want more, families that want more highlighted pedestrian safety. I provide educational materials. This is available on our website. And then, like Ms. Akasaki mentioned, I do summer fun presentations, but also presentations at the schools, often at 3rd grade. The teachers might ask us to come in and do a presentation for their students. And then the main one is I do a walk audit where I can go to the school and look at the infrastructure needs, and then that's where I make recommendations to our other branch and see how we can implement those changes. I do surveys at the school so I can see what the parents' needs are. I also have done surveys with principals. This survey shows, this was done at Honolulu Middle School. 175 parents have responded, and their biggest concern with their child walking and rolling is a car hitting the child or a stranger kidnapping the child. And this is pretty much the case with most schools. These two factors would be at the very top. And then initiatives that most schools and parents would love to see is more crossing guards. So the crossing guard program is with the Honolulu Police Department, and I work very closely with them because it is a request that I get very frequently. Everyone would love to see more crossing guards, elementary, middle schools especially. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, do we have any questions? Okay, Councilmember Tapola.
Hi, aloha. Thank you for being here. My question was about the crossing guards. If you can get a little more specific with me. I know that up in Makakilo, one of our crossing guards, she passed away, and then it wasn't actually, well, the school said it was just too hard to fill. So who is responsible for filling the positions? I know you said it lies with HPD, but does DOE publicize for it? How does this go?
Sure, yes. The program is with HPD, the traffic division. So they oversee how it's implemented and the steps to becoming approved. Currently, their policy is that it is up to the school to find the candidate. So it falls upon the school to whether they publicize it or not, or how they go about recruiting someone. And then once they find the candidate, they would then let HPD know, and then there is a evaluation process. They get evaluated just like any other HPD officer, so it's quite a lengthy approval process. And then if they have funding or not, and then they have to have a physical exam, and then they get trained in how to be a crossing guard, and then they can get the materials like the vest and the stop sign, and then they're out on there. It takes roughly 6 months.
And your perspective is, well, just because a few principals that I've talked to, on top of all the other admin responsibility they have, I don't think they're not prioritizing it, but it's not really something that, they readily put out there and everyone's like, sure, I'll be a crossing guard. Because, it's basic pay, right? Most of the crossing guards in my district are all kupuna. The crossing guard for my daughter's elementary, she went to Waiau Elementary, was the same for like 30 years, still there actually. But I think that, do you think that there's a better way for us to do it? Because I don't really know, does that fall under the purview of the principal or whoever? Or should we actually make a push with HPD to try to have them put it up? They have their own DHR, they have their own HR division. What is your thought? Like, have we seen the numbers of crossing guards go down?
This is always a very lively conversation that I have with many people. We have many working groups, and one of them is focused on crossing guards, and there's a lot of different opinions on how we can make changes to the program. We are interested in looking nationally at what is done. There's many different ways that crossing guard programs seem to be implemented. They often do lie with the police department though, but whether it gets privatized or schools take a different role, or maybe the police department has a larger role in publicizing it, it seems like there's lots of different possibilities. And yeah, the principals often have a very difficult time prioritizing this because they have so many things. And it is also a very hard position to fill in many ways. It's 1 hour in the morning and then 1 hour in the afternoon. It is a paid position on the HPD payroll. But also the length of time it takes to actually get approved. Many times these people are doing it as voluntary work just for satisfaction of helping the community, and it is very rewarding for them. But when they have to wait so long to get approved, they might look elsewhere to volunteer and do other things.
So do you have notes from these working groups that we can review and possibly see about any changes we can make on our end?
Sure, yeah, we have a document that we've compiled.
Okay, I would love to see the suggestions because I've had multiple elementaries talk to me about it. And as well, you know, the traffic division has their whole presentation about how to become one, but they're not in charge of finding it, which I think is, you know, I guess currently right now that's the process, but I don't know if that needs to be the process moving forward.
They do some general outreach. For example, they have a booth at the Valentine's Day dance that the city puts on.
I saw that.
So they do some outreach like that in a general way.
Yeah, it's cutesy. I appreciate it. I know that the HPD traffic officers are close with all the crossing guards. We appreciate them. I'll look forward to seeing your notes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Councilmember Okimoto, Committee Vice Chair Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. Aloha, good morning. Thank you for answering the questions. I had similar questions with Councilmember Tupola, but I had concerns, not concerns. I think I was wondering about how we decide crosswalks along with the crossing guard volunteers that you mentioned. Years ago, at my daughter's elementary school, we were told that we couldn't put a crosswalk, and the concern was families running across the street, Mehe'ula Parkway, which is about 4 lanes, 2 lanes on each side. Recently, a crosswalk was put in, but at that time, we were told, no, we can't put a crosswalk here. There's too much. I'm not sure what the engineering of the streets, what the reason for that was with the stoplight. Now there is a crosswalk, but I'm not sure. There's concerns also from parents that it's still dangerous. So could you explain, if you know or somebody, I'm not sure if Kelly knows, what are the what guidelines are we following when we put in a crosswalk near a school? What requirements are necessary? And I had a couple of crossing guard questions also, but if you could, engineer, yeah.
Yeah, Kelly Akasaki again. Okay, so when we put in a marked crosswalk, there's certain requirements that we need to look at. So in our Complete Streets Manual in Table 5.1, it tells about what requirements are needed for the type of roadway. Is it a 2-lane roadway? Is it a 4-lane roadway? Is it a 5-lane roadway with a median? What are certain safety features that we need in order for us to safely mark it? For one, in order for us to mark it, it needs to have at least 20 pedestrians per hour. Now, keiki and kupuna count as 2. So if 10 keiki or kupuna cross within the hour, it counts as 20 peds that cross in that area. We do our evaluation, then it meets the warrant for a marked crosswalk. However, it all depends the volume of the roadway, how many lanes there are. Is it safe to just stripe it and put in signs? So again, in Table 5.1 of our Complete Streets Manual, it says, does it need a median? Does it need bulb outs? Does it need rapid flashing beacons? Or does it need a traffic signal? So some of the big problems that we have, like King Street or Kapiolani Boulevard, where there's multi-lanes, 6 lanes, even with a signal, even with a median, sometimes that's not safe enough to just put in a marked crosswalk. And a lot of the ones that we look at are uncontrolled, meaning no signal. So it's either a mid-block or it's at a small side street that doesn't warrant a traffic signal. And those are the ones that we need to look at to make sure that we have appropriate safety. But now with the Complete Streets Manual, if there's a stop sign or if there's a traffic signal, we will try to see if we can put in a crosswalk at those locations first. Unless there's some kind of condition where there's a double left or a double right, where the movements are heavier and we want them to cross on the other side only because traffic will not flow. So we look at all of those different intersection or street.
I was just wondering, because at one point we were told that that intersection, it's not even an intersection actually, it's, you know where I'm talking about.
So that one, it depended on volume. So recently the 20 peds met.
Okay.
So we look at all of them again and then we take volumes again. And it all depends on who's in the community. Maybe the people who live there now with the younger kids walk more. And then maybe if it was 5 years ago, you know, the community then drove more. So it all depends on what the area is.
What would determine if you can put in those blinking, I'm not sure if delineators, we have, I think there are markings right now, and I've driven up there in the morning when the kids are going to school, the way the sun is shining, you can't see. So parents have asked, what can they do to, you can't put a stoplight there because it's not an actual intersection, but something to identify that there's somebody crossing. Is there another study that has to be done for that to keep the keiki and the family safe?
So you're looking at additional enhancements for the
Yes,
crossing?
to the crosswalk that was just put in.
We
with
can
the-
look at that. We can look at that and
Okay.
see what options we have. The hard part is if it's not at an intersection, we can't, I guess we can look at additional signage. It depends if it's warrants a PED-activated signal. The
Yeah, I think
PED-activated
that's-
signals are a little pricier. So it
Yeah.
all depends on the volume of the road. Is it a busy roadway? Is it prioritized within, the 200 schools that we are looking at? Is that one of our top priorities? Renee is doing a wonderful job at Complete Streets putting up these we will have solar-powered rapid flashing beacons. We do have 2 up now, Date Street by Ilani School and one on School Street by the community centers there. Those are solar powered, so we're testing those out. If we do hardwire, it can be anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million for a brand new traffic signal, even if it's just a push button activated lights.
You answered my other question.
Yes.
That would be the cost of it? Okay. Thank you. I had a quick question about the crossing guards. You mentioned the length that it takes for applications to go through. What do you understand? Can you explain why that's such a lengthy process? I know you said it's with HPD, but what is the delay? Why does it take so long to process these applications?
Sure. Again, it's not my program, but from what I understand, there is a lengthy vetting process. So they go through the same process as any other HPD officer through the application process. So that takes some time. They also have to find funding. If funding is not available, I'm not quite sure what their funding status is right now, of how many new crossing guards they could accept if they had candidates who were interested. And then there is the training that happens as well.
What is the pay for a voluntary crossing guard?
Sure, I believe it's right now $19.50 an hour.
But they're only
$19.20,
there
something like that.
before school and after school.
Yes, it's 2 hours a day, every day that school's in session. So when there's no school, they don't work that day.
Do they work? I know certain campuses, they have the JPOs. Some are CPOs. Like my daughter's
Correct.
school, they're on campus, but others, they're off, right on the main roads. Are they working with the JPOs also, or is that something different?
Both of those programs are under the same branch in the traffic division, overseen by the same officer. So they do have a JPO program. Many of them are not on the roadway anymore. They've shifted to more campus police officers who open car doors rather than
Right.
stop traffic for pedestrians.
And final question, do you know about how many schools use these crossing guards?
My last count was roughly 20. There's 20 crossing guards island-wide. That might have fluctuated a little bit depending on if they've hired anyone new or if others have retired.
Out of how many elementary schools are we talking about island-wide?
I don't know the exact
Okay.
number, sorry, but
Okay.
I believe it's around 70.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Okimoto. I did ask the Public Safety Chair if we could have a further discussion on this program. I have been working with our community policing team to show of the flyer, which is not that great, by the way, HPD, about crossing guards and how people can be paid to do so. And I just wanted to note that I'll work with the Public Safety Chair for that discussion. And I really appreciate all the questions about this. Members, any other questions relating to Safe Routes to School? I do have a question. Don't go away. I do have a few questions. So you did note in the the timeline. Oh no, wrong presentation. Timeline here for 2025. The different funding that is now going to be allocated. Will all of them be going to the? Oh, they are going to be going to the Safe Routes to School special fund, right? Including the vehicle registration surcharge.
Correct.
Okay, and I was just wondering if all that funding from these allocations or surcharges will then be staying at the state level, or will it be distributed to the counties?
So the way it is now, it all gets distributed into the Safe Routes to School Special Fund, which is at the state level. and then the advisory committee will have recommendations to HDOT as to how to spend the money, and then HDOT will be distributing it. So whether it stays with the state or the county, I think it really depends on the project that the committee has recommended.
Does the state utilize it for programming at the state level as well, or is it just looking at all the data and directing it to the counties?
They can use it for their own projects. For example, one of the things that's required is to have a planning document, some kind of plan for the program, looking at goals and metrics. So some of the funds will be used to do that.
Okay, thank you. The House Transportation Chair did want to testify, but did have a question, but he went to a meeting, so I'm asking the question for him, relating to the fee, which is the last one on here, the fee assessed at the county for registration, which is the $5 SRTS vehicle registration surcharge. Representative Kila wants to know how you feel that will provide funding, and what would be the plans at the county or city and county level to utilize it?
Sure. So that, again, is going to all go into the special fund, which is then governed by HDOT. So the process currently is that we are identifying projects that we would like funded with this pot of money, and then the committee then decides which ones are going to be funded. So we are providing a list that we would like funding for.
Okay, thank you. I do note on the Safe Routes to School State Department of Transportation website that we see that the Safe Routes to School Special Fund has their funding up until 2020 as to the different, I guess not projects, but allocations to the different counties. It doesn't list anything further than 2020, so nor does it have it in 2023 when it states that we had 20 million from the special fund to the city and county. Do we know if it was through any other means, or why it's not reflected here?
So yeah, we have not received any funds since 2020 from the special fund. That was the last funding we received.
It was just appropriated only in 2023,
yes,
not actually allocated. Okay.
My understanding is that the 20 million has not been spent. It's still sitting in the pot, as well as the accumulation of the fines that continues annually.
I see. I do have to note, it's interesting because, and maybe not a question, but the infrastructure awards from the state DOT to any of the counties ends in April of 2014 with the County of Maui. And then for their non-infrastructure awards, went to the Hawaii Island Schools Bicycle and Pedestrian Education and Safety Program in September of 2018.
Yeah.
So that means everything from 2018 or anything that Honolulu had received last was basically funded through other means?
For our county program?
Yes.
Correct.
Oh,
So just to clarify, HDOT has two basic pots of money for Safe Routes to School. They have federal funding that was received 2025 to 2029 through the Safety Loop. So they still have that pot of money, which is what most of the infrastructure funding that's listed on the HDOT website is, the federal funds. And then they have the Safe Routes to School Special Fund, which is those that's generated from the fines here in Hawaii for the state.
thank you. Lastly, I know that I have a few schools that are going through the Safe Routes to School, not just programming, but then there's some schools that take it upon themselves to just like get the education materials and then do their own, I guess, traffic campaigns, like Kalakaua Middle School, for example. I was wondering, how would the community, a certain school or a legislator reach out, and how do they set their intentions to start this?
Oh, they're welcome to contact me if they like. And it's not a requirement for them to contact me, but if they would like any kind of resources or advice, I'm always available, so they can always email me or call me. There's a lot of different ways to go about improving traffic safety at a school, depending on the interests of those who are wanting to start the initiative. So we can look at non-infrastructure ways and also infrastructures. So typically, I usually like to start with a walk audit and look at infrastructure needs, because that's oftentimes the biggest interest of a school or parent. But there are a lot of non-infrastructure initiatives that the parent or staff can lead on their own.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Members, are there any other questions? And if you think of anything, we'll go back to discussion. Thank you, Coordinator Sasaki. We will now move on to testimony. We have one registered testifier, Angela Young.
Aloha, Transportation Committee, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES. So I like the presentation anyway to help, again, special needs persons, because I love helping students with all kinds of disabilities to perhaps have easier access and to have provisions in transportation planning to help improve infrastructure and to accommodate and educate students and parents about safety at school. Relating to like those with special needs. And so the purpose of this act was to create the school advisory committee to advise the state on strategies to ensure each child in the state is able to safely bike, walk, or bus to school. And it tasks various city and state groups to work together, and also community organizations within the community at large to work collaboratively together. So I think it's really imperative to help disability students because then they can get to school safely and become positive contributors to society. And it is a federally funded program. So to exercise to the fullest extent of the law, the liberties of federal provisions.
Thank you, Angela.
Yeah, okay,
Thanks. Okay, we don't have any other registered remote testifiers. Is there anyone else online who wishes to testify? Seeing none, we will now close remote testimony. We don't have any registered in-person testifiers, but we don't, and I don't see anyone in person who wishes, I don't see anyone else in person who wishes to testify, but is there anyone else in person who wishes to testify? Seeing none, members, we're back in discussion. Thank you both, seriously, for this presentation and update. Seeing no further discussion or questions, we will now move on to the next agenda item. We have agenda item number 3, which is the overview of the city systems for public access. I did get to see, I'm sure, actually I heard that all the other members got to get briefed on these different programs, including Lokahi, but even though I thought I knew how to use the city's different programs, I was very surprised to learn about even more programs that are helpful to our everyday lives, but especially not just us at the city level, at the council, at the departments, but especially things that could better help the general public as well in their, I guess, communications or public access. So with us, I'm very excited to have before the council the Department of Information Technology's Director and Chief Information Officer, Brian McKee.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chairman Cordero and members of the committee and members of the City Council. Appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk to you about these. Yeah, we put these together here to give you guys kind of an overview on the public-facing systems that we've got. The first ones we'll go through are the H&L software suite of tools. Now, these have all been developed in-house by our development staff and been rolled out over the years to, increase citizen involvement, make things easier for the customers here that deal with us. H&L Pay is the first one we'll go over. It takes citizen payments for purchasing seats at events, reserving systems and services. There is a 2.35% service fee that's attached to that. That goes to First Hawaiian Bank. The city doesn't make any money off of that. That's just kind of the way it had to work when we set it up. H&L Info is basically My Honolulu. It's where citizens can call in. They can create a citizen profile, and they can bring it up if needed when reserving city services, things like summer fun, parks programs, et cetera. And H&L Invoicing, that's kind of a little-known project that we've got. It's a billing system that's used by affordable housing, and we're rolling it out to the film office in the next couple of months. Citizens make us payments through that portal. And we've got one more to go over in the H&L software suite, and that's the events ticketing. So you guys may be familiar with the fishing reservation system, Hanama Bay reservations, Cocoa Head Rifle Range, and the Botanical Gardens. You can go out there and reserve your spot as opposed to just standing in line and hoping for the best. I'd like to mention that any of the things that you see in here today, if you want an in-depth dive into it, please give me a call, and I'll go ahead and set that up. I will have with me also my head of my applications department, Nancy Vo, and she's going to go into anything. If you guys have in-depth questions into these, she's also going to throw something at me if I start to overshare, which I tend to do. So she's going to keep me honest. We have another one here. This is the Aloha Q. Anybody that has gone and gotten their vehicle registration or dealt with the DMV has dealt with Aloha Q. It's actually a big improvement over what we used to have over there. Department of Customer Service uses it, Liquor Commission as well. You go over there and it tells you where you fit in line, tells you how long you have to wait, gives you the next queue when you're up. Motor vehicle systems, vehicle registration renewal, fee calculator, and then if you get a duplicate driver's license, there's a portal out there where you can do most of the work before you go in and talk to anybody, and it speeds things up. Okay, so we also have a DPR reservation system. Some of these will be familiar to you guys. You know, Summer Fun is one of the very, very popular events. If you guys remember Summer Fun in the old days, they used to line up here. They'd get here in the middle of the night trying to reserve their spot for their keiki, and it was kind of high drama, I guess. So yeah, now it kind of works like if you ever had a Southwest airline ticket. You know, they have 24 hours before your flight, and you're waiting, and then you see the thing, and then you punch the enter button. That's kind of how it goes here. It fills up in like a half an hour, but it's a really intense half hour on our systems because you have thousands of people going in for Summer Fun. We also have parking activities, camping permits, facilities reservations through that system. And then we've got a new system for ethics filing. So when we work for the city, we go through and we have to do financial disclosures. Tasks us about any kind of property that we might own. It kind of potentially looks at highlights, something that might be conflict of interest in the people that work here. So we use that. And we also have lobbyist registration. And then Chairman Cordero mentioned Lokahi. We thought about coming and doing a demo of Lokahi, and we can do that, and we'd be pleased to do it for anybody that wanted an in-depth deep dive into that. Lokahi is an ArcGIS-based GIS system that has got a lot of layers. It represents city departments, county data. We've got some state data in there. We've basically thrown everything that we can into this system. I hesitated to do it in public because there's a lot of PII data in there. There's a lot of things that some companies would consider a competitive advantage. You know, you don't necessarily want all of that you know, available to everyone. So we're kind of going through the process right now of evaluating what we can put out there as a publicly facing GIS tool. The example I have here right now is, you know, you can kind of do what-if scenarios. This particular one was what if we had a tsunami and it came up 10 feet? And as you can see, we'd be underwater. So, you know, it's kind of fun to play around with that. And there's a lot you can do with Lokahi. It's got a lot of interactive information on real-time things like the bus locations and aircraft coming in and out of the islands, you know, soil types. You know, I can't even tell, there's thousands of layers. And so it's really kind of too much to just make available to people on the fly. But again, we'd like to pare that down into a tool that is easier to use and less complicated. I'll give you an example. Somebody here asked our department to produce a list of the city-owned property. Seemed pretty reasonable. And I'm thinking, okay, city-owned property, let's go to the tax map key. Everybody pays taxes on the land that they own, so that would probably be the latest and greatest in getting that information out. Turns out it wasn't at all. You can go to the tax map and you can get the city-owned property, but there's property that we own that we don't pay taxes on, and there's property that we jointly own, and there's state property, and we have easements, and we have all this requirements that we've written into private corporations. And so you've got to go to DLNR, and you've got to go to the state, and you've got to go to all these different agencies to get all that stuff in, to get a comprehensive map of the city-owned property. So yeah, it was a little more than I thought when we first got that requirement. So we're working to make Lokahi something much simpler for people to use on an everyday basis. And so that's why, it's in here though. It's a potentially really, really cool tool, and we'd like to push it out. Okay, 311. You guys have been hearing about this. We've got, sorry, this doesn't really work, so I'm gonna kind of like settle down here. So we've got a DART replacement, the darts and risers, and the way you guys communicate with your constituents. It's been an issue for a long time, we know that. We've got an in-house system that's gonna replace the 311 and the darts and risers. Councilmember Kia Aina has expressed, she wants to be part of the planning, and she's very invested in that process. So we're going to have her do a review of it before we put it out. But we're also going through an in-depth review of why we have so many tickets in the current system that are still open. We have 20,000 open tickets right now in the current system. And especially the mayor's office was like, why are we going to make this more available and more easy for people to put more tickets out there if we can't close the ones that we have? And so we've discovered a whole lot of things about why there's 20,000, why there probably aren't really 20,000, what gets included. We've got drop-down menus that we probably are going to change so that when you go into that system, you put in things that are actually going to be actionable by city departments and county departments. And so we've got a lot of changes coming up, and we think we can improve those numbers and make it much easier to have the system kind of reflect what's going on in the city. And we can get into that at anybody's time. It's probably a good sit down for us. There's a lot to get into that we've learned by talking to the departments that have a lot of the open items. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is AI. AI is kind of something on everybody's top of mind right now. We've got an AI chatbot that now is working over there at the Department of Customer Service. We are now working with our own AI. We have an AI NVIDIA machine in our basement right now. And we've got a voice chatbot that we are now developing. And so in the future, the 800 calls that come into customer service will probably be handled by that. And the majority of those are FAQ questions. They can come any time of the day and night and be answered by our AI in the future. So we're getting pretty excited about it. We're doing the testing right now, and it's looking pretty good. And I kind of just wanted to let you know that these are the main systems that we're using that are customer facing. We're committed to increasing transparency, automation, and outreach to everyone. I'd be happy to schedule in-depth reviews and any of the things you guys see, and we can meet anytime on that. So any questions?
Thank you.
On these?
Well, before I move on to I just have a statement or even a rhetorical question. I know that you shared with us, and I brought it up even when you were being appointed before the council, about your dream dashboard that we could be implementing. What's the progress on that for any of the departments to implement something like that?
Yeah, we're actually working on that. We're rolling out Power BI to a lot of people, which is a dashboard creating piece of software, and we're getting a lot of. We're also working with Kira to get this data lake, this big bunch of data that everybody can get to and easily use, and it's all vetted, and all the PII is taken out of it. So we've got the ERP data that has a lot of the city and county financials and a lot of things that are going on in the different departments, and we're going to meld that with the operational systems on these different departments to make it. Yeah, I'm still excited about that dashboard, and again, I've got an example that I could show people of what I think is possible in the future, and I think that's where we're heading. And I'm going to try and make it happen. The mayor told me when I got here, you only got 4 years, man. You got a lot of stuff to fix, so get to it. So yeah, that's on my list.
Well, thank you. I know I was thinking of more so infrastructure projects, but now that we've been through half of this year, my recommendation is maybe to look at a dashboard for our procurement process for our departments, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so members, any questions on this? Okay, we have Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Malo, Director. I was mainly just curious about DIT's role, because I was talking to community stakeholder yesterday about the city possibly working on creating its own HMIS system, homeless management information system. Is that something DIT is a part of, or do you have any information on that?
Yeah, actually it is. We have created one of those, and it's being used right now. So yeah, the state has a parallel system that they've been paying for and developing, and we have our own that we've kind of prototyped and then rolled out. So as far as I know, it's being used right now. Is that right? Yeah. So I took a tour of the Honu site that was over in Kapolei, and the reservation system was being used. The police have scanners and handheld devices that can go up, and when they interact with a homeless person on the street, they can take their contact information, take a photo of them, find out where the nearest homeless shelter is that can take that person based on age or sex or past history, and then make a reservation at that nearest shelter that could take them and then actually transport them there. So it's in production as far as I know.
Okay, so that's specific to Honu, or it's island-wide system?
Oh, it's...
Or maybe if you have information on just kind of how it functions, how it's unique from HMIS, how the data is input, that type of information would be helpful.
I'm sorry, I'm asking for clarification. I can't hear anything that Nancy's telling me, so. Okay. All right, sorry about that. So right now, it's been rolled out to Honu, the Honu shelter specifically, but I guess there's plans to roll it out island-wide in the near future.
So is it information different than HMIS, or it's specific to just trying to find room availability?
It is different.
Who's inputting that data?
Yeah, it's different. It's a different system. Apparently, we haven't coordinated yet with the state system to try and get the data together.
Okay, so who would be putting the data in? Because like right now, for example, right, with HMIS, all the individual providers will input data into that system. So all the different street outreach workers, all the nonprofits. I'm just curious, so I'm hearing right now maybe the program specific to Honu, but if it gets rolled out, how is it gonna function alongside HMIS without duplicating work?
Yeah, I guess we have to do some coordination there, because right now the police themselves are putting in data, and the people at the Honu shelter themselves are putting in data, and obviously we would like to coordinate with whatever the state has. I don't think there's been a lot of coordination to this point yet, so we'll have to take a look at that.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is it is different than the info that goes into HMIS, or it isn't?
Yeah, it's my understanding that the data is different. We have not coordinated with them, so. I think we did a prototype system that we could roll out right away, and I think the state system was still being developed. So we'll have to take a look at that.
Okay, appreciate that, Mahalo.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire. Members, any other questions on this? Okay, members, I do have a few questions. Director McKee, I was wondering, do the other reservation or queuing systems show where you are in line as well? Like for the summer fun, can you see where you are in line like you do for Aloha Queue?
Yeah, they don't currently say. I don't think those systems have a queue that you can interrogate as the public, do they? Okay. When they do log in, apparently it tells you, how long it's going to be. But Aloha Queue is a little more sophisticated in that it shows your place in line, and there's a repeater, kind of gives you an estimate, and you can actually go and walk around and, and then it'll bring you back. So yeah, it's got a little more features. I should mention that Department of Customer Service is actually looking to replace Aloha Queue. It's worked really great, and we haven't paid any licensing fees for a few years, but something in the Big Island has already been rolled out, and they're looking at a replacement system that will help them put in. It's got a few more features to it.
Oh, that's great to hear. And maybe we will be hearing about that in the next few years, maybe, or so.
You'll be hearing about it in the next presentation.
Oh, just kidding.
Yeah.
That's very soon. Okay, so I was also wondering about the open tickets issue in the 311 and DART system. You mentioned about the different drop-down menus. Are you saying that it may be because of the certain selections selected on the drop-down menu, or like as a is it a system of the form, or is it because the departments are not closing out these tickets?
Well, I don't know how much we want to get into this right now, but when we looked at all the open tickets, we were amazed at some of the stuff we found. For instance, people are going into the 311 system and they're putting in tickets that just venting. I mean, they're never going to be a work order. They're never going to go to the police department. They're never going to be, fix a pothole. They're 25% of the 20,000 that were out there were somebody saying, dude cut me off on each one. What's up with that? I mean, and that's what would be in there. There's no contact information at all. And so we're like, well, that's really not what we had in mind when we put the system out. But there's so many complaints talking about people in there, that are blocking their driveway, or somebody's too loud, and they're never going to be actionable. And so we're thinking if the drop-down menus have to be actionable, maybe that will cut down on some of these other requests that are out there. The other thing we found is that a lot of the requests were being completed, but weren't, they were completed, but the paperwork wasn't completed. The loop wasn't being closed. When I was in Sacramento, somebody would call our help desk and they would describe a problem. They would immediately create a work order in that department that was relevant. They would reference that work order. That work order would get assigned. When the work was complete, that would get closed, and that would automatically close the trouble ticket and automatically notify the person that called. We don't have that automatic closure, right? So a lot of things are falling through the cracks. We don't know how many of the things are getting done just by regular operational duties. For instance, my deputy had a illegal dumping near his house. So we filled out a ticket and said, I have illegal dumping. 2 days later, the thing was cleared. People had picked it up. Now, he doesn't know it was his ticket that caused it, or that it was the crew that comes by on a regular basis and just picks stuff up. So there's a lot of things that we're looking into and trying to get a better handle on why we have all these open tickets. And of course, the nirvana for me would be to have an automatically closing system, something that would never rely on human intervention on a one-by-one basis. So that's what we're looking at.
Understood, understood. Thank you very much. My next question is relating to AI and its infrastructure capacity. I've been able to check out the different things that DIT has at the Frank Fosse Municipal Building, but of course DIT oversees a lot of the other towers and whatever else, and all the other city facilities too. And I was wondering how much more capacity, whether it be energy or space, that may be needed to, I guess, increase AI. I have my own thoughts about AI, but I'll just ask infrastructure capacity wise.
Well, AI is going to be a push. We have several dedicated people right now working on different versions of AI, but as it becoming, everybody here uses AI, even if people that don't know they're using AI. When you look up something on Google, you're getting presented an AI, answer for you now. As we roll out G5, Office 365 to everybody, they get one of the tools out there called Copilot. That'll be an AI generator that you can use to create documents and to proofread things that you've done. And there's a lot of really useful tools that will be just kind of ubiquitous. And so we have to kind of step up to the plate and get more resources developed so that we can go out and help people roll it out. And then on the other side of that, of course, there's there's quantum computing, and along with that, there's quantum hacking, and there's going to be quantum attempts at keeping the quantum hacking from happening. I mean, it's a rapidly evolving IT area of interest right now, and it's getting a lot of press. And I think we're doing really well to keep up right now, but it's something that we're going to have to throw significant resources at in the near future.
I understand. And that's what I was alluding to, relating to the resources, Director, because I know that FMB, as a building itself, it supports not only DIT, but a lot of other city departments, offices, public-facing departments too, and just was wondering, do we have enough energy capacity for to host the AI infrastructure, and maybe not space, but I don't know, just like other types of capacity that may need to support AI in general?
Yeah, right now I think we're doing okay. But one thing, and if Kira was here, she'd want me to mention, we're looking at, it's all about the data, right? It's all about the data that the AI can get and make decisions based on. And so, we're taking a look at trying to increase the pool of data that's available for our AI. And, in the future, we're going to have, position descriptions created by AI, and we're going to have, just the other day we used it to kind of go to HR and say, hey, here's somebody that you said didn't qualify for this position. We ran it through AI and said, does this person, qualify for this position? And it gave us a list of 12 different items saying, yes, they do, and here's why. And so, it's a real time saver if you know how to use it. And we've got some really good people working on it right now. But yeah, in the future, we'll need more resources and places for them. I think Kira has 3 positions that she's going to fill, and I'm sure some will be dedicated towards this.
Thank you. And I know that we are talking about resources for it, but do we anticipate that it will be a high cost to utilize and sustain?
Oh, AI? Well, it depends. I mean, we've already invested in the NVIDIA machine downstairs, so we're doing that in-house, and that is, that's working out really, really well. Some of the AI services are, there's an AI service by Google, and there's one by Amazon, and, we're taking a look at those tools as well. So at some point, there may be a subscription fee that we have to end up paying, and we'll try to budget for that and let you guys know how that's, how that's going to play out in the next budget. We just finished it, and now people are like, oh, yeah, you got to get warmed up because we're starting it again, like in August. I'm like, wow, okay.
Understood. Thank you. My last question is as it relates to H&L Pay or events ticketing. First off, I didn't know about the events ticketing part, which means I probably haven't gone to the botanical gardens in a while. But for H&L Pay or events ticketing, has there been any consideration with Department of Enterprise Services to utilize H&L Pay or H&L events ticketing to do the ticketing format for our shows like Broadway in Hawaii or other things, concerts, whatever?
With Dita? With her group? Okay. Nancy, get over here. Apparently we have a contract out. Let me see what Nancy has to say here.
Yeah, so they have contract out. So when their contract, close to the end of the contract, we are going to be revisiting.
Well, here, tell them. Nancy Vo, everybody. Let's give her a big hand.
Hi, Nancy. Just please state your name.
Yeah, Nancy Vo.
Closer.
Okay. Nancy Vo from the Department of Information Technology. I'm the application chief for the department. In regards to having some of our DES friends on board onto H&L Pay, currently DES has a contract out, I believe with Ticketmaster for their Blaisdell and various programs such as our golf courses. So when their contract is over, we are in talks with them. We did talk with the golf course once, but due to the tight timeline, they went and renewed their contract. So yes, we are in talks with DES in terms of getting them onto H&L Pay.
Thank you. And who is our contractor for H&L Pay and events ticketing?
So that is all built in-house.
Built in-house, okay.
So really there's no cost to the citizens. So within H&L Pay, we do automatic reconciliation for a lot of these payments, putting in a different ledger account automatically for our BFS friends.
Thank you. I'd really rather have any of the fees, whatever else, go back right to the city or back to our system rather than a Ticketmaster who's taking all my money for all my K-pop concerts or whatever. But it's okay. Thank you. I really appreciate that response. Members, are there any questions? Okay, Sina. All right. Thank you, Director McKee. We will now go to testimony, then we'll come back to you for discussion or the next presentation. Thank you. Okay, we don't have any registered remote testifiers. Is there anyone else online who wishes to testify? Seeing none, we will now go to in-person testifiers with Angela Young.
Thank you, Chair. Angela Melody Young testifying on behalf of CARES. So the drop-down menus, I think that's going to be really good and it's going to be really helpful. So like functionalities of the technology development should help increase like transparent open processes of the internal county's functions. So specifically like for each office and related tasks and responsibilities, for example, for maybe like homelessness, to be able to help filter through disadvantaged health conditions, like which people need more help, to streamline the data so help can get to the scene of the crime as fast as possible, and then to help the city internal dispatch to get like intuitive navigation is probably going to be really helpful for the design. And then I think like for general needs for like 311, kapunas, special needs persons, and for consideration like the user-friendly interface, right? It's going to be like a bit of a learning curve for seniors versus like people in high school, like minors who are just on the phone all the time. And then, yeah, so
Thank you.
Thank you. We've tried to make the new 311 system as transparent and as easy to use as possible. You come in and it basically says, you know, what do you need? And you go through a list and it's, you know, it could be anything from feral chickens to, you know, a limb fell off a tree that the city is responsible for, and it gets routed to the appropriate agency. But again, the weakness right now in all of these systems is that we have personnel that are kind of shepherding it through, and there's no automatic closure to it. So I'm really looking to hook up a work order management system. We have one department that automatically puts it into a work order, and that gets closed automatically. And so they have a very low number of open tickets, and I'd like to recreate that everywhere.
Thank you, Angela, for your testimony.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in person who wishes to testify? Seeing none, thank you. Members, any further discussion on all these awesome different programs for the city? Okay, thank you. No further discussion. We will now move forward to the last item on the agenda, which is update overview of the modernization of the city's information technology infrastructure. Joining us, as we still have up here, thank you, Director, oh, I love it, thank you.
Okay.
Ta-da. Director Brian McKee, the Director and Chief Information Officer for the Department of Information Technology, who will be providing a brief presentation. For your information, the presentation is available online as Departmental Communication 477-2025. The last presentation was Departmental Communication 476-2025. I forgot to mention that. And now we'll hand it back over to the Director.
Thank you, appreciate it. So it should be no surprise to anyone here. We've been running DIT kind of on a shoestring for years. We have a lot of information areas where we need to modernize and we need to consolidate, and I would say we need to automate. So I was going to take you through some of those right now. A word about current IT challenges. I want to start out with the mainframe. This is a situation that's been kicked down, the can's been kicked down the road for years and years. We do vehicle registration and driver's licenses with a COBOL system. It's IMS, CICS, 3270 emulation. It's 1980s technology, and it costs a lot. It's complex. It's hard to maintain. The mainframe costs continue to go up, and I have 2 COBOL programmers in DIT that can understand it. So I have hundreds of COBOL programs. When something comes down from AMVA, the feds have added a new requirement that we've got to input. I have to go to these 2 COBOL programmers and ask them to tear apart the code and compile it and put it into production. And I've only got 2. I used to have 20, and now I have 2 left. And so they're one of our most precious resources. We don't let them vacation at the same time. We don't let them get in the same car at lunch. I mean, we try to take really good care of them, right? So with these limited, well, I mean, that's just one of the main programs with this. When I started coding in the 80s, 1984, I was a COBOL programmer, so I was kind of shocked to see we still had it. Besides the security risks, you know, we also have thousands of copies of Outlook. We have unsupported Windows 10. We have all kinds of risk vectors besides this that we're struggling with. And so I like to go to our modernization strategies. We've tried to retire old unsupported software, but we still have a lot in use. We have to replace it with something better. Like all cities, we have a huge list of items to work on and very little budget to expend. And because of this, we need to be very strategic in what we upgrade and where we put the effort in the budget. I've been working on that, and like I said, I looked at the calendar, and it's been 6 months already. I can't believe that it's been a half a year, and I don't have that much time. So, according to the mayor, especially, I gotta get cracking. System consolidation. We're redressing redundant and obsolete software. We'll be prioritizing replacement of obsolete software, especially that that pose a cybersecurity threat. We have Microsoft doing a deep dive right now into our systems, and we expect a report in the next couple of weeks that's going to be really, really ugly. We'll kind of do what we can when we get that report. We'll need budget, and we'll need to really, put some resources against that. I want to implement industry best practices where we can and push for more efficiency. Many departments with a large number of employees are getting by with the bare minimum of work management, asset management, GIS tools. We met with a department last month. They have thousands of employees, and I asked them what they use for a work management system because they had all kinds of problems. And they said, well, we use eForms. I'm like, eForms is not a work management program. And they're like, well, it's what we have. And so I sat down, I'm like, okay, well, what are you, we had a big meeting, everybody was there. I'm like, what are you guys trying to serve? Are you trying to be more proactive? Are you trying to know where your crews are going during the day? Do you want to know what they work on? Are you trying to get out the warehouse, the parts and material, labor, motive equipment? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to get work asset information against a specific asset so you'll know how much it costs and you can budget for it? Do you need CIP planning? What are you guys trying to solve? They're like, yes. I'm like, okay, well, what do you use? They're like, eForms. So, we have 5 work management systems that we already pay for that are at other departments. So we're going to try to do an analysis and give them the best fitting one and try to roll out some of the stuff that we already use to some of these departments that don't even know what they don't know. It's not their fault. They've just been putting up with this, and I guess it's IT's fault. I mean, we should have done a better job at outreach and tell them what's available. There's 31 other departments out there. IT has this global perspective of what everybody uses. So it really is up to us to kind of push new technology out, and we got to get better at that, and I promise that we will. So, yeah, I guess that kind of, I guess that kind of is that slide. What's that? I did. My boss tells me I skipped slide 5, sorry. So. Okay, that's a good point. That's not one I want to skip. Okay, so we want to retire these legacy systems or reduce vulnerabilities. And I want to talk a little bit about the mainframe system and the strategies. We've had several strategies in the past to get it off. And one thing that I did, I've had a lot of opportunity to call the leadership of other Department of Transportations in the other states. I've talked to almost all of them now. Some states are in our same boat. They've got old COBOL programs. There's about 4 of them left. So we're not, it's not like we're the last ones. 40% of the states use something called the FAST system, and the FAST system is kind of an off-the-shelf program that takes about 4 years to implement, and it costs between $60 and $67 million. And that's a pretty big ask for you guys. I don't really want to come here and say I need $67 million, please. So we're still looking at alternatives. And in my travels, I hooked up with the leader of the Department of Transportation in Arizona. ADOT has created their own driver license vehicle registration system called MAX. They had some kind of interesting financial options. They developed it with Kyndryl, which used to be IBM Global Services. And it's now a product that they have made available to 3 other states. Wyoming is going live with it next month. Tennessee is going to be maybe 2 more months. And they offered to share their code with me for free, which I thought was pretty attractive. So they're kind of our front runner in terms of replacing the mainframe system that we have now. That's not to say that the entire program is going to be free. There's a lot of configuration. There's a lot of taking the data out of the old IMS tables and putting it into something more relational. There's, we have some requirements here in Hawaii that we don't have anywhere else. We register vehicles based on weight instead of age and Blue Book value, which is unique. But when we develop something for the MAX community, we'll make it available to these other states. So that's kind of what my thinking is right now, is that we'll go ahead and, and try to do that. I'm looking at several other alternatives, but they're the front runner. Kim Ashiro has an employee that was visiting relatives in Phoenix and was nice enough to go to the Department of Transportation and get a deep dive into the MAX system and get a real look at it. And they work in that department, so they know what they're talking about. And they were very kind to him. They spent all day. And he came back and says, you know, it's as advertised. It's a great system. It's got lots of features that we don't have. There's mobile support that we don't have. They took away all the chairs in their lobby because the customer experience is under 5 minutes when they walk in. I know. I mean, it looks like a really good solution for us. So that's kind of the front runner in replacing the mainframe as far as I'm concerned. So I'll keep you guys updated and see how that goes. Slide 5. Yeah. All right, so we're talking telecom and network updates. Again, this is another area we're heavily involved. Many thanks to Tony and his crew for keeping things working. When things do fail, and every once in a while they do, we find out who it was, whether it was Verizon, somebody on the mainland, somebody here. We do root cause analysis and make sure that that particular failure doesn't happen again, and it's increased our network stability. We've eliminated a lot of single points of failure, and I think this is one of the situations where we're coming up to speed really quickly. A word about the radios. Apparently we're in the radio business now as well. There's an old radio format that's getting sunsetted. We've got kind of secondhand radios that are becoming available from the PD that are on this P25 layer, and it's got encryption layered within it. So as they become available, we need 8,000 radios. We're getting about 3,000 per year from the PD, and they're going to be this new P25, and the encryption that goes with it is being put on by my staff and by the fire department. So that's something to keep our eyes on, because we'd like to turn that on. And if we turn it on without the encryption on all of them, the ones that don't have it will fall out. So we've got to be worried about that. And then of course we're employing security for our applications, data, and network. We know, again, the report's coming out, it's going to look ugly, so we're going to have to turn to there. All right, cloud migration. So we talked about our ERP a little bit earlier when I was going through the budget. We have something called CGI's Advantage Project. It's our ERP. It's actually a Tier 1 enterprise resource planning system. It's in some major cities like New York City, Los Angeles. It just got put in, I think, in San Francisco. I'll have to check on that. But there's nothing wrong with the suite. It's something that we need to get better at in boosting out the features and doing the change management with our customers so that we can realize all the advantages built into the system. And as part of that, sorry, it's probably my voice. As part of that, we're looking at going into the latest cloud version of the ERP. And so again, we're embracing cloud technology, we're embracing software as a service, and there's a lot of advantages that having our ERP in the cloud will give us, monitoring, security, some other things, and so we're looking at doing that in this next year. Also, the vendor is sunsetting our current on-prem system, so yeah, it's good timing. So we have a slide here on the benefits of modernization. I'll let you guys read those. Basically, we'd like there to be a return on investment with every project we do. We'd like our customer experience to improve with every system we roll out, and we are committed to better government efficiency and transparency. And next steps and goals, we're prioritizing our critical systems for replacement and upgrade. We're getting back to swapping out old machines and old operating systems with new ones. We're collaborating with the departments to adopt standardized tools. Again, if I have 5 different work management systems, maybe there's room to consolidate and stop paying for 1 or 2 of them. We'll have to make sure they're a good fit. We're expanding our cloud capabilities, and we're doing a continual evaluation of new technologies and efficiencies. And again, we can drill down to any topic you guys would like. I'd like to also mention there are a lot of systems and processes that aren't mentioned in this overview. We've got a lot of talented DIT personnel working hard every day to keep things running smoothly. We've got lots of projects that are in work. We're starting a utility billing system for ENV, for instance, and we can go through any of that if you guys are curious and want to know what's happening. We have 160 personnel in DIT, and they're all working their tails off right now. So available for any questions.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions for Director McKee on this modernization of DIT? We have Councilmember Tupola.
Hi, aloha, Director. I'm glad to hear you talk about e-forms. My goodness. I'm just going to pause for dramatic effect. I really feel like the way eForms is being used was not the intent of it, and it's used everywhere. So thank you. You know, I do think that if there are other tools, and I get it, I even sometimes use tools that are just familiar to me, and then I use them over and over, not knowing there's something better out there. So I just want to encourage you that the education of more modern tools or what's already being paid for in the city that anyone can fully utilize, it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve for us. When we met with your office and we talked through it, same thing. So don't get discouraged. I think the more you teach, the more people are able to learn, the more maybe we can try to, you know, grow and change in ourselves to use things that might be a little bit more efficient.
Appreciate that. And work management is hard to roll out. You know, you've got people that, you know, they think they know their job and they like to do it the way they do it. And more accountability sometimes is a hard call. And, you know, but there's so many efficiencies. We've got directors that are managing large departments with thousands of employees, and they have very few tools in the tool chest. So, you know, we really need to change, especially if we have something available. For instance, we have CityWorks. CityWorks is a GIS-based work management tool. It's really great if you have buried linear assets like pipes, you know, and you have dispatch crews that go out and you need to know where they go every day, and we already pay for it. So, you know, let's try to roll it out and make it available to others, right?
Yeah, great work, Director. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I do have a follow-up relating to the lifespan of P25 radios. We know that currently we would see them come before the council when HPD would request more funding for even more P25 radios. So does that mean all the, I guess, the hand-me-downs from HPD then go to DIT?
Well, right now the physical radios themselves are going to HFD, and HFD has a radio section. We're standing up a radio section, so we're going to start helping them do this. But you know, obviously we don't have the budget to just go out and buy 8,000 new radios. So as the PD gets new radios and makes their old ones available, we kind of refurbish them and put the layering on there for security. The rub is that the PD is ready to go to this new format with the security because, you know, they've got new radios with the security. We've got other departments that have maybe the new radios but no security layered, or they've got the old format. And so if the PD does flip that on, none of these will work. And so we're kind of coordinating with them to see how we can push it out as fast as possible so that everybody will be supported.
Thank you, Director. First off, that's interesting and concerning, obviously, because we want them to talk, right? So kind of like how some people were utilizing e-forms while others were still using the DART system before. And so probably still happening, but I don't know. Don't want to call anyone out, any departments out. But with that, I was just wondering, it sounds like more than just software consolidation or updating or modernizing of those radios, because you really can't just get them to talk. You kind of have to have the same actual radios to have the same systems, right? So I guess if PD has it, fire has it, and then just different agencies have it, you have it. So how do we get, I mean, that sounds like it would be just bigger of a task to kind of have, I don't know how to ask the question, but how are you going to tackle that?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts to that. You've got departments that are like, well, look, we've got the old format, and we're not even interested in going to the new format. So we're like, well, the old format is sunsetted. It stopped being supported like 5 years ago, and it could end at any time. And they're like, well, we're fine with that because, you know, we're not going to change. And then you've got other departments going, well, we like the P25 radios, but we don't have any budget for it. And we've got other ones, we're ready to take the old radios with the thing, and we'll make the change. So you've got all kinds of players at different, you know, layers of, you know, what I would say, you you know, they're ready to jump in at a different point in the game, and some don't want to jump in at all. So it'll be really interesting to kind of take care of this, right?
Wow, that's all I can say.
Well, I found out I'm in the radio business like 2 months ago. They're like, hey, we didn't talk about radio. I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, you'll find out why.
Oh boy. Well, thank you. I mean, these are everything that we're talking about affecting all of our departments, especially our first responders, responding agencies, but just how just everything to support the city, and it matters as access to government increases. It's gonna just, I don't say burden, but like make the load heavier on your department to support all of that. So I just really wanted to highlight all these discussions or things that you folks are focusing on.
Appreciate
that.
Yeah, and again, we're here to answer anything, and if anything that you guys are interested and want to dig into, we'd love to have you over and dig into it.
Thank you. Members, are there any other discussion? Okay, we'll now move to testimony. We don't have any registered remote testifiers. Is there anyone else online who wishes to testify? Okay, seeing none, we have an in-person testifier, Angela Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES. So I think what would be helpful is to know how much funding is needed to upgrade specific projects, right, for the technology. And so to justify the funding, how does it help the city? How does it help the people, right, with upgraded projects for technology? For example, the DMV kiosk, right, it has a very basic programming. The programming features a very basic task to make an appointment. But then to design and tell it what to do above and beyond the basic needs, for example, the DMV kiosk should be able to read identification documents and process and take payments and renew the driver's license, right? So that requires more funding and more thinking to program that and to design it. So I think with more funding, it can help with the design, and not only just the design for the audience, but also like for the internal staff, right? Because seeing what the audience sees is that the app is helping the public. And then if the...
Thank you, Angela.
Oh, okay.
Is there anyone else in person who wishes to testify? Seeing none, we'll now close testimony. Members, we are back in discussion or questions for Director McKee. Okay, seeing none. All right. Well, thank you very much again, Director McKee, for being here. We hope to see you for further updates. If there's anything you want to discuss or provide updates to the committee on, please let us know. Let me know.
All right.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.